Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the HSS Guardian, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His ship moved slowly along the edge of human space, checking the warning beacons that marked the boundary. These beacons sent out messages in 47 different alien languages. The message was simple and clear. Human space, you need permission to enter. Ships without permission will be forced out or destroyed. Jake had been doing this patrol for 3 years. Most alien ships turned around when they saw the beacons. Smart captains knew better than to test human warnings. But every few months, some species thought they were special. They thought humans were weak or stupid. Those captains usually learned they were wrong. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at the sensor station. She was young but good at her job. Amy had sharp eyes and quick hands. She could spot trouble before it became a real problem. Today, her screen showed empty space except for the usual background noise. "Captain," Amy said, looking up from her console, "I'm getting something on long-range sensors. It's big and moving fast toward the boundary." Jake walked over to look at her screen. A bright dot moved across the star map, heading straight for human space. The computer was already working to identify the ship type. After a few seconds, data appeared on the screen. "Velkari Empire," Jake read aloud. "Haven't seen one of those in a while." The Velkari were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors. They had powerful ships and advanced technology. More importantly, they believed other species were beneath them. This made them dangerous but also predictable. They never backed down from a fight, even when they should. "Sir, the ship is crossing the boundary now," Amy reported. "It's ignoring the warning beacons completely," Jake nodded. This was standard procedure for the Velkari. They probably thought humans were too primitive to enforce their territory. Many species made that mistake. Most of them only made it once. "Send them the standard warning," Jake ordered. "All frequencies, all languages." The communications officer, Lieutenant Roy Gibson, sent out the message. It was polite but firm. The ship had entered human space without permission. They needed to turn around and leave immediately. If they did not leave, humans would remove them by force. The Velkari ship kept moving deeper into human space. It was heading for the 4th planet in the system, which had rich mineral deposits. Jake could guess what they wanted. The Velkari liked to set up mining operations on other species' worlds. They usually killed anyone who complained. "No response to our warning, Captain," Roy reported. Jake was not surprised. He ordered Roy to send the warning 2 more times. Standard protocol required 3 warnings before taking action. The Velkari ignored all 3 messages. "Deploy interceptor drones," Jake commanded. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. 6 small drones launched from the Guardian. They were fast and armed with plasma cannons. The drones formed a line between the Velkari ship and the planet. Their message was clear: stop or be stopped. The alien ship did not slow down. Instead, it fired some kind of energy beam at the drones. The beam was unlike anything Jake had seen before. It seemed to bend space around itself. 3 drones vanished instantly. The other 3 tried to dodge, but the beam tracked them perfectly. In seconds, all 6 drones were gone. "Impressive," Jake said quietly. He was not worried, just interested. The Velkari had better technology than he expected. This would make things more challenging, but not impossible. The Velkari ship sent a message. Roy played it on the main speakers. The voice was deep and proud, speaking perfect English with a strange accent. "Primitive humans," the voice said. "You claim space that does not belong to you. The Velkari Empire takes what it needs from lesser species. Your small ship cannot stop us. We will build a research station on your 4th planet. If you interfere, we will destroy your colonies," Jake smiled. The Velkari captain sounded exactly like all the others who had tried this before. They always talked about primitive humans and superior technology. They always threatened to destroy human colonies. They never seemed to wonder why no other species had successfully taken human territory. "Open a channel," Jake told Roy. The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Jake looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm and friendly, like he was talking to an old friend. "Velkari vessel, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Force. Welcome to human space. I see you've decided not to request permission for entry. That's fine. We understand that some species prefer our alternative accommodation service." Jake paused for a moment, still smiling. "You now have 36 hours to leave human territory voluntarily. After that time expires, we will be happy to provide you with permanent housing facilities. These facilities are quite comfortable. and you'll have the opportunity to contribute to human scientific research for the rest of your natural lives. Please consider this our final offer of free departure." The Velkari captain laughed. The sound came through the speakers like grinding metal. "Foolish human. We have conquered 17 star systems. Our ship could destroy your entire fleet. You offer us housing? We offer you death." "I understand," Jake replied. Many of our current research subjects expressed similar confidence. They've been very helpful in advancing human technology. In fact, some of their innovations are probably what will be used to capture your ship. Jake nodded to Roy, who closed the channel. Amy looked up from her sensors. "Captain, they're starting construction on some kind of orbital platform above the 4th planet." "Let them work," Jake said. "Set up a monitoring station and record everything they do. Send detailed scans to Fleet Command. Include full technical specifications of their ship and construction equipment." Jake walked back to his command chair. He opened his personal log and began recording. Day 1 of Velkari incursion into human space. Alien vessel has ignored standard warnings and begun unauthorized construction. Ship displays advanced technology, but follows predictable Velkari behavioral patterns. Recommend Standard Protocol 7 response. Estimated completion time for permanent accommodation, 72 hours. Jake closed the log and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in the distance, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez was probably already preparing the welcome party. The Velkari thought they were conquering human space. Soon they would learn they had actually volunteered for a one-way trip to humanity's growing collection of research subjects. The 36-hour countdown had begun. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez sat in her command center at Terra Nova Station, reading Captain Morrison's report. The massive space station orbited Earth's second colony world. It served as the headquarters for the Human Defense Force. Lisa had been expecting something like this. The Velkari Empire had been expanding aggressively for decades. It was only a matter of time before they tested human resolve. Lisa called an emergency meeting of the Human Defense Council. Within an hour, the top military and civilian leaders gathered in the secure conference room. The holographic display showed the Velkari ship's position and the construction progress of their illegal platform. Intelligence Officer Ben Parker stood at the front of the room. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who knew more about alien species than anyone else in human space. Ben activated the wall display and began his briefing. "The Velkari Empire controls 17 star systems," Ben explained. "They've conquered every species they've encountered. Their standard method is technological intimidation, followed by complete subjugation. They don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They simply take what they want." The display showed images of destroyed alien cities and enslaved populations. The Velkari were efficient conquerors. They used superior technology to crush resistance quickly and completely. Their ships are approximately 200 years more advanced than our standard fleet vessels, Ben continued. They have energy weapons that can bend space-time, shields that can deflect most known weapon types, and faster-than-light drives that make them extremely mobile. General Carol White, head of fleet operations, leaned forward. "What about their weaknesses?" Ben smiled. "They're arrogant. They believe their technology makes them invincible. More importantly, they have never encountered a species that fights the way humans do. Every other race they've conquered tried to match their technology directly. We don't do that." Meanwhile, aboard the Velkari research vessel Supremacy, war leader Zach Thule supervised the construction of the orbital platform. His ship was 3 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The platform would serve as a permanent base for mining operations on the planet below. Zach Thule was confident in his mission. Humans were a young species with primitive technology. Their threats were obviously empty posturing. The single human ship that followed his vessel was tiny and outdated. It posed no threat to Velkari operations. War leader, his communications officer, reported. "The human settlements in this system are sending evacuation requests to their government. They appear to be abandoning the planets." Zach Thule was pleased. "Excellent. The humans recognize their inferiority. Send a message to all human colonies in this system. Tell them they have 10 rotations to evacuate completely or face cleansing." The message was broadcast on all frequencies. Zach Thule enjoyed the fear he could hear in the human responses. Some colonies begged for more time. Others asked what they had done wrong. All of them sounded terrified. This was how conquest should proceed. Back on Terra Nova Station, Dr. Elena Martinez reviewed archived footage in her laboratory. Elena ran the Human Research Institute, which studied alien technology and behavior. She had been analyzing patterns in alien incursions for 15 years. The files contained records of every species that had entered human space without permission. The list was long and varied. Some were explorers who made honest mistakes. These species were usually escorted out peacefully and later became trading partners. Others were aggressive conquerors like the Velkari. These species had very different outcomes. Elena pulled up the file on the Mordian hegemony. They had tried to establish a military base in human space 8 years ago. Their technology was even more advanced than the Velkari. They had energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons and gravity guns that could crush entire cities. The Mordians were absolutely certain that humans could not resist their superior might. The Mordian invasion fleet had consisted of 12 massive warships. They had destroyed 3 human patrol vessels and begun bombarding civilian targets. They had demanded complete human surrender within 24 hours. Elena looked at the final entry in the Mordian file. The entire invasion fleet had been captured within 72 hours. All 12 ships were now in human research facilities. The Mordian crews were permanent residents of human detention centers, where they worked on improving human technology. Their gravity weapons were now standard equipment on human vessels. Elena opened another file. The Crystalline Collective had tried to claim human space 5 years ago. They were energy beings who could possess electronic systems. They had taken control of human computers and communication networks. They had declared humans to be biological parasites that needed to be eliminated. The Crystalline Collective had learned that humans could be very creative when their computers stopped working. Human engineers had developed electromagnetic pulse weapons, specifically designed to disrupt energy beings. The collective members were now contained in special isolation chambers where they provided valuable research data. Elena counted the files. 43 different species had tried to take human territory by force. All 43 were now permanent residents of human space. Their technology, knowledge, and abilities had been added to humanity's growing capabilities. Captain Morrison's ship continued monitoring the Velkari construction project. Chief Engineer Roy Gibson ran detailed scans of the alien vessel. He was particularly interested in the power distribution systems. "Captain," Roy reported, "I think I've found something interesting. Their energy weapons draw power directly from the main reactor. When they fire, there's a brief fluctuation in their shield matrix. The fluctuation lasts about 0.7 seconds. Jake nodded. "Send that data to Fleet Command. Include recommendations for exploitation." Amy Carter tracked the orbital platform's progress. "Sir, they're working fast. The platform will be operational in about 30 hours. "Good," Jake said. "That gives Admiral Rodriguez time to prepare the welcome party." On the Velkari ship, Zach Thul received reports from his construction teams. The platform was ahead of schedule. Soon he would have a permanent base in human space. From here, Velkari forces could expand throughout the human colonies. It would be another glorious victory for the Empire. Zach Thul did not know that every move his crew made was being recorded and analyzed. He did not know that human scientists were already studying Velkari technology and developing countermeasures. He did not know that his ship had been marked for capture, not destruction. The war leader looked out at the stars and smiled. Humans were proving to be even weaker than he had expected. In a few days, the system would belong to the Velkari Empire. The humans could join the other conquered species as servants of their betters. Admiral Rodriguez finished reading the latest intelligence reports. She opened a secure channel to Fleet Commander Steve Mitchell aboard the HSS Retribution. "Steve," she said, "we have some uninvited guests who need accommodations. How soon can you provide our standard hospitality service?" Commander Mitchell's voice came through clearly. "My task force can be in position within 18 hours, Admiral. Should we prepare for permanent residence?" "Yes," Rodriguez replied. "Full Protocol 7 authorization. These guests have specifically requested our one-way accommodation package." The 36-hour deadline passed quietly. War Leader Zach Thul watched from his command bridge as the orbital platform neared completion. The structure was impressive even by Velkari standards. It would serve as a fortress and mining center, allowing the Empire to extract resources from the entire system. Admiral Rodriguez reviewed the countdown timer in her command center. When the display reached 0, she activated Protocol 7. This was humanity's standard response to uninvited guests who refused to leave. Warning messages went out to all human civilian traffic in the area. Military vessels began moving toward predetermined positions. Fleet Commander Steve Mitchell received his orders aboard the HSS Retribution. His task force consisted of 27 ships of various sizes and capabilities. To outside observers, the human fleet looked outdated and mismatched. The ships used different designs from different time periods. Some were clearly older than others. Steve understood the deception. Each ship in his task force carried weapons and technology taken from previous uninvited guests. The older-looking vessels often had the most advanced systems, carefully hidden inside conventional hulls. The Velkari would see what appeared to be primitive human technology. They would be wrong. Chief Weapons Specialist Carol Thompson worked in the Retribution's armory, preparing special equipment for the mission. The weapons she selected had an interesting history. They had originally belonged to the Mordian hegemony, who had tried to conquer human space 8 years earlier. The phase disruptor arrays were particularly effective against energy-based shields. The Mordians had designed them to punch through any known defensive system. Now they would be used against another arrogant species that believed superior technology guaranteed victory. Carol ran diagnostics on each weapon system. Everything checked out perfectly. The Mordian technology had been improved over the years through collaboration with its former owners. The imprisoned Mordian engineers had been very helpful in explaining how their weapons worked. Some had even suggested improvements. Dr. Elena Martinez monitored Velkari communications from her research facility. She had learned to speak several Velkari dialects during her studies of galactic species. What she heard confirmed her expectations about their psychology. The Velkari had a rigid honor code that made retreat impossible once they claimed territory. Zakthul could not leave the system without losing face in front of his crew and superiors. This meant the situation could only end one way. The Velkari had essentially chosen their own fate. Elena prepared a psychological profile for the fleet commanders. Understanding alien thinking was crucial for successful captures. The Velkari valued strength and despised weakness. They would fight until their ship was completely disabled. This made them dangerous but also predictable. Captain Morrison continued his patrol around the Velkari position. The alien ship had finished construction of the main platform and was beginning work on defensive satellites. Zakthul was clearly planning to stay permanently. "Captain," Amy Carter reported from her sensor station, "I'm detecting the approach of Fleet Commander Mitchell's task force." "They'll be here in about 6 hours," Jake nodded. "Signal the fleet. Provide them with all our scan data and tactical analysis. Make sure they understand the shield fluctuation timing that Roy discovered." The human task force moved through space in perfect formation. To casual observers, they looked like any standard military fleet. The ships maintained regular spacing and followed predictable flight patterns. Only careful examination would reveal the true nature of their capabilities. Lieutenant Alex Murphy served as tactical coordinator aboard the HSS Falcon, one of the newer ships in the formation. Alex was responsible for timing the synchronized attacks that had made human forces so effective against technologically superior enemies. The key to success was not matching alien technology directly. Instead, humans used coordinated tactics that exploited specific weaknesses. Every alien species had limitations in their designs. Finding and exploiting those limitations was what humans did best. Pilot Sarah Lee flew the HSS Striker, a small and apparently insignificant vessel. Her ship looked like a standard patrol craft, but appearances were deceiving. The Striker carried experimental cloaking technology taken from the Shade Collective, a species that had tried to infiltrate human space using invisible ships. The Shade Collective had believed their cloaking would make them invincible. They had planned to appear suddenly inside human settlements and demand surrender. Instead, they had discovered that humans could track cloaked ships using gravitational sensors. The entire Shade fleet had been captured, and their cloaking technology had been added to humanity's arsenal. War leader Zakthul detected the approaching human fleet on his long-range sensors. He studied the formation with satisfaction. 27 ships seemed like a large number, but they were clearly inferior vessels. His single ship had more firepower than the entire human force combined. "War leader," his tactical officer reported, "the human ships are maintaining standard formation. They show no signs of advanced weaponry or shielding. Our victory should be swift and decisive, Zakthul agreed. The humans were making this easy. They were approaching directly, with no attempt at deception or tactical creativity. This was exactly what he expected from a primitive species. They probably thought their numerical advantage would compensate for their technological inferiority. Prepare the planet-killer weapons, Zakthul ordered. When the human ships enter range, we will demonstrate Velkari power. Destroy their largest vessel first. The others will flee when they see their flagship burn. The orbital platform had defensive capabilities of its own. Zakthul positioned it to support his ship in the coming battle. Together, they had enough firepower to devastate an entire star system. The human fleet would be swept away like insects. Fleet Commander Mitchell opened communications with his task force. All ships, this is Retribution. Remember, we want that vessel intact. Disable, don't destroy. Our research teams are very interested in Velkari technology. The response came back from all 27 ships. Understood, Commander. Disable and capture. Carol Thompson made final adjustments to the phase disruptor arrays. The weapons were charged and ready. She had programmed them to target specific points on the Velkari ship's hull. The goal was to disable their weapons and engines without causing fatal damage to the crew. Captain Morrison watched the human fleet approach his position. Soon the Guardian would join the formation. His small ship would play an important role in the coming battle. The sensor data he had gathered would be crucial for the coordinated attack. Dr. Martinez received updates from the fleet as they prepared for engagement. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The Velkari were positioning themselves exactly as predicted. Their arrogance was making them predictable, just like all the others. Elena opened a secure channel to Admiral Rodriguez. Admiral, the psychological profile confirms our expectations. The Velkari will fight to the end. They cannot retreat without losing honor. This guarantees a successful capture operation. Rodriguez acknowledged the report. Understood, Doctor. Prepare the detention facilities for new residents. Make sure the research teams are ready to begin integration protocols immediately after capture. The human fleet moved into final position. Each ship knew its role in the coming battle. The Velkari ship looked powerful and threatening, just like all the others that had tried to claim human space. But appearances could be deceiving. Zakthul watched the human ships arrange themselves in what appeared to be a standard attack formation. He was almost disappointed by their lack of creativity. This would be over quickly. The war leader opened a channel to broadcast on all frequencies. Pathetic humans, you have brought your ships to die in our space. We offer you one chance to surrender. Abandon your vessels and submit to Velkari rule or be destroyed. Fleet Commander Mitchell replied from the Retribution. Velkari vessel, this is the Human Defense Force. You have refused our offer of free departure. We are now implementing our alternative accommodation service. Please prepare for boarding. Zakthul laughed. Boarding? You think to board a Velkari warship? Your arrogance exceeds even your stupidity. Mitchell's voice remained calm and professional. We understand your skepticism. Many of our current research subjects expressed similar confidence. They've adapted well to their new living arrangements. The war leader cut the communication channel. Enough talk. It was time to show these humans the true power of the Velkari Empire. The human fleet formed a perfect sphere around the Velkari position. 27 ships hung in space like points of light, surrounding the massive alien vessel and its orbital platform. Fleet Commander Mitchell gave his ship's final positioning orders from the bridge of the HSS Retribution. War leader Zakthul studied the human formation with growing irritation. The sphere was a defensive pattern, not an attack formation. It showed that humans were cowards who preferred to trap their enemies rather than fight them directly. This confirmed everything the Velkari believed about inferior species. Charge all weapon systems, Zakthul commanded. Target their largest ship first. We will break their formation and scatter them like frightened animals. The Supremacy's main guns began to glow with deadly energy. The planet-killer weapons were designed to crack continental plates and boil oceans. They would make short work of the primitive human vessels. Commander Mitchell opened communications with the Velkari ship. War leader Zakthul, this is your final opportunity to surrender peacefully. We offer comfortable detention facilities and meaningful work in our research programs. Your cooperation would be appreciated but is not required. Zakthul's response came in the form of weapons fire. The main planet-killer beam lanced out toward the Retribution. The energy was so intense that it bent space around itself, creating visible distortions in the star field. The beam struck the Retribution's shields and stopped. The human ship's defensive systems absorbed the incredible energy and converted it into harmless light. The Retribution didn't even shake from the impact. Zakthul stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Impossible. That weapon can destroy moons. How did their shields hold? His tactical officer ran diagnostics on the weapon systems. All systems show normal function, War Leader. The energy output was within expected parameters. Their shields should not have been able to withstand that assault. What Zakthul didn't know was that the Retribution's shields were not standard human technology. They had been taken from the Christek Federation, a species that had tried to establish a military base in human space 12 years earlier. The Christek had developed nearly perfect energy absorption systems. Now those systems protected human ships. Lieutenant Alex Murphy coordinated the human response from his station aboard the HSS Falcon. His job was to time the synchronized attacks that would exploit the shield fluctuation that engineer Roy Gibson had discovered. "All ships, this is tactical control," Alex announced. "Begin pattern delta on my mark. Remember, we want them alive for questioning." The human fleet opened fire simultaneously. 27 different weapon systems targeted specific points on the Velkari ship's hull. The weapons were not standard human designs. Each had been taken from a different species that had tried to claim human space. Phase disruptors from the Mordian hegemony struck the shield generators. Quantum torpedoes from the Nexus Empire hit the engine compartments. Gravity bombs from the Titan Collective targeted the weapon systems. Every attack was precisely timed to hit during the brief shield fluctuation. The Velkari ship shuddered under the coordinated assault. Multiple systems failed simultaneously as the carefully planned attacks found their targets. Zakthul felt his mighty vessel being torn apart by weapons he had never seen before. "Return fire," he shouted. "All weapons, continuous barrage." The Supremacy's surviving weapons struck out at the human ships. Energy beams and missile volleys filled space with deadly light. But the human vessels seemed to dance between the attacks. They moved with impossible coordination, each ship covering the others in a complex defensive pattern. Pilot Sarah Lee flew the HSS Striker through the enemy fire with casual ease. Her ship was nearly invisible thanks to the Shade Collective's cloaking technology. The Velkari weapons couldn't target what they couldn't see clearly. Sarah's job was to disable the Velkari communication systems. She guided her ship close to the enemy vessel and fired specialized electromagnetic pulse weapons. The Christek Federation had developed these weapons to shut down electronic systems without destroying them. They were perfect for capture operations. The Supremacy's communication arrays went dark. Zakthul could no longer coordinate with his crew or contact the Velkari Empire for assistance. His ship was now isolated and alone, surrounded by enemies he had underestimated. Chief Weapons Specialist Carol Thompson watched her targeting displays from the Retribution's armory. The phase disruptor arrays were performing perfectly. Each shot struck exactly where intended, disabling Velkari systems without causing critical damage to the ship's structure. "All primary weapons offline," Carol reported to Commander Mitchell. "Secondary systems are failing. Engineering compartments show severe damage but no hull breaches. Crew survival probability is high." Mitchell nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent work. Begin boarding procedures." The battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. The mighty Velkari warship, capable of destroying planets, hung dead in space. Its weapons were silent, its engines were cold, and its crew was trapped inside a powerless hulk. Zakthul stared at his darkened control panels in shock. Everything had happened so fast. One moment his ship was the most powerful vessel in the system. The next moment it was helpless debris floating among human warships. "War Leader," his engineer reported. "All primary systems are offline. Life support is failing. We have perhaps 2 hours of breathable air remaining." "How is this possible?" Zakthul demanded. "We are Velkari. We have conquered 17 systems. Our technology is superior to anything these primitives possess." His tactical officer looked up from his useless console. "Sir, I believe we have been deceived. These weapons, they are not human designs. Some of them appear to be Mordian technology. Others match Christek energy signatures. There are weapon patterns here from species across the galaxy." Understanding began to dawn on Zakthul. The humans had not tried to match Velkari technology with their own primitive weapons. Instead, they had used the technology of everyone who had tried to conquer them before. The Velkari were fighting the combined might of dozens of species, human boarding pods attached to the Supremacy's hull. Cutting beams began slicing through the armor plating. The humans were coming aboard, and there was nothing the Velkari could do to stop them. Captain Morrison watched the boarding operation from the Guardian. His small ship had played its part by providing the sensor data that made the precise attacks possible. Now he would monitor the capture teams as they secured the alien vessel. The first human soldiers entered the Velkari ship through the breached hull. They wore powered armor taken from the Iron Dominion, a species that had tried to invade human space with superior ground forces. The armor made them nearly invulnerable to small arms fire. Zakthul drew his energy weapon and prepared to fight. The honor code of his people demanded that he resist to the end, but when the human soldiers reached his bridge, he discovered that resistance was useless. Their armor absorbed his weapon's energy without effect. War leader Zakthul, the lead soldier said through an external speaker, "I am Sergeant Pete Davis of the Human Defense Force. You are now a prisoner of war. You and your crew will be transported to detention facilities where you will be treated according to galactic conventions." Zakthul lowered his weapon. "You have won this battle, human, but the Velkari Empire will send fleets to avenge this defeat. You cannot capture every ship we send." Sergeant Davis nodded politely. "Many of our current research subjects made similar predictions. The Mordian hegemony promised revenge fleets. The Christek Federation threatened total war. The Nexus Empire swore eternal vengeance. They were all very passionate about it." The sergeant paused for a moment. "They've all been quite helpful in improving our defensive capabilities. I'm sure you and your crew will make valuable contributions to our research programs." Within 6 hours, the Supremacy was being towed toward human space by 3 heavy cruisers. The orbital platform had been dismantled, and its technology was being analyzed by human engineers. The Velkari crew was in secure transport ships, beginning their journey to permanent accommodation facilities. Fleet Commander Mitchell composed his after-action report. Velkari incursion successfully resolved. Enemy vessel captured intact with minimal crew casualties. All alien technology secured for research purposes. Recommend standard integration protocols for new research subjects. Admiral Rodriguez read the report with satisfaction. Another species had learned the price of entering human space without permission. The galaxy's reputation of human space as the graveyard of the arrogant remained accurate. Dr. Elena Martinez prepared welcome materials for the new arrivals. The Velkari would be housed in comfortable facilities and given meaningful work helping to advance human technology. Many former enemies had found their new lives quite rewarding, especially when they realized their contributions helped protect smaller species from future aggressors. War leader. Zakthul looked out through the transport ship's small window as human space grew larger ahead of them. Behind them, his mighty warship was being stripped of its secrets by human engineers. The Velkari Empire's newest conquest had become humanity's newest acquisition. The one-way ticket to human hospitality had been issued, punched, and was now non-refundable. 3 months after the Velkari incident, Ambassador Kate Reynolds stood before the Galactic Council on Terra Prime. The massive assembly hall contained representatives from over 200 species. Kate was there to deliver humanity's quarterly report on territorial security incidents. The holographic display behind Kate showed footage of the destroyed Velkari research platform. Debris still floated in orbit around the 4th planet, where war leader Zakthul had tried to establish his illegal base. The wreckage served as a reminder to other species about the consequences of unauthorized entry into human space. "Honored delegates," Kate began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "I am here to report on recent territorial violations and their resolution. The Velkari Empire has been added to the list of species currently residing in human detention and research facilities." A murmur went through the assembly. The Velkari had been known throughout the galaxy as powerful conquerors. Many smaller species had feared them for decades. The news that they had been defeated and captured by humans sent ripples of shock through the gathered representatives. The delegate from the feathered clans raised a wing. "Ambassador Reynolds, our records show that the Velkari possessed advanced military technology." "How were human forces able to achieve victory?" Kate smiled politely. "The Velkari made the same mistake that many species have made before them. They assumed that having superior technology would guarantee victory. They failed to consider that humans might fight differently than other species they had encountered. Trade Representative Nick Foster worked in his office on Terra Nova Station, reviewing the latest economic reports. The numbers were impressive and growing steadily. Since the Velkari incident, formal requests for human space transit permits had increased by 340%. Nick opened his communication system and called Admiral Rodriguez. "Admiral, you might be interested in these trade figures. We're getting permit applications from species that have never contacted us before. Some of them are traveling hundreds of light years just to file proper paperwork before entering human space." Rodriguez appeared on the screen, looking pleased. "That's excellent news, Nick. What about military applications?" "Those have tripled," Nick replied. "Apparently, word is spreading that humans take their territorial boundaries very seriously. Even species with powerful fleets are requesting safe passage documentation before approaching our border." The economic benefits of humanity's reputation were significant. Species that might have simply taken what they wanted now paid fair prices for resources and trading rights. The threat of permanent accommodation had proven to be an excellent motivator for honest business practices. Captain Morrison resumed his regular patrol duties along the human border. The warning beacons had been updated with new information. The message now included a detailed list of species currently housed in human research facilities. The list was long and included many names that had once inspired fear across the galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Carter monitored her sensor displays as they checked each beacon. "Captain, I'm reading an increase in civilian traffic near the border. Looks like merchant vessels from the Tau Confederation." Jake nodded. The Tau Confederation was a peaceful trading alliance that had always respected human space. They were welcome to conduct business in the border systems as long as they followed proper protocols. "Any sign of military vessels?" Jake asked. "Negative, sir. All contacts show proper identification and transit permits. No unauthorized entries detected." The effectiveness of human border security had reduced Jake's workload considerably. Most species now understood that entering human space without permission was a one-way trip to permanent residency. Only the most arrogant or foolish captains still tested human warnings. Dr. Elena Martinez toured the detention facilities on Luna 7, checking on the newest residents. The Velkari had adapted well to their new circumstances. War leader Zakthul had initially refused to cooperate, but gradually came to understand that his situation was permanent. "Dr. Martinez," Zakthul said as Elena entered his work area, "I have completed the analysis you requested on Velkari shield harmonics. The mathematical models show 3 possible improvements to human defensive systems." Elena reviewed his work with satisfaction. "Excellent progress, Zakthul. Your contributions have been very valuable. How are your quarters? Do you need anything for comfort?" The former war leader looked up from his computer. "The accommodations are adequate. I have access to educational materials and recreational facilities. The food is acceptable, though different from Velkari cuisine." Elena noted his responses. Keeping the research subjects healthy and reasonably content was important for long-term productivity. Most former enemies eventually came to appreciate their new lives, especially when they realized their work helped protect smaller species from future aggressors. "Zakthul," Elena said carefully, "we've received communication from the Velkari Empire. They're demanding your return and threatening military action against human space." The former war leader was quiet for a long moment. "Doctor, I have seen what happens to species that threaten humans. If my people are wise, they will accept my loss and seek peaceful relations. If they are not wise," he shrugged, "you will have more Velkari research subjects soon." Elena left the detention facility with mixed feelings. She felt sorry for the captured aliens, but their presence served an important purpose. The galaxy was full of aggressive species that viewed peaceful races as prey. Humanity's growing collection of former conquerors helped maintain balance and protect the weak. The communication reached Captain Morrison's ship as he completed his patrol route. Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the main screen with urgent news. "Jake, we have a situation developing at the border. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching human space. They're broadcasting Zephyrian military codes." Jake felt a familiar mixture of anticipation and mild interest. The Zephyrians were another conquering species, similar to the Velkari but with even more advanced technology. Their ships were larger and their weapons more powerful. They had enslaved dozens of species across their region of the galaxy. "What's their fleet composition, Admiral?" Jake asked. Preliminary scans show over 200 vessels, Rodriguez replied. Battleships, carriers, and support craft. It's one of the largest invasion forces we've ever seen approaching our territory. Jake nodded thoughtfully. How much room do we have in the detention facilities? Dr. Martinez estimates we can accommodate approximately 50,000 new residents, Rodriguez answered. The research department has specifically requested Zephyrian hyperspace technology for study. Understood, Admiral. Should I begin the standard contact protocols? Yes, Jake, give them the usual welcome message. Remind them about our accommodation options. The Zephyrian fleet reached the human border 2 days later. Their admiral, a massive creature named General Krextar, immediately broadcast demands for human surrender. His message was transmitted on all frequencies, ensuring that every human settlement could hear his threats. Inferior humans. The general's voice boomed through space. The Zephyrian Empire claims this territory for our own. You will abandon your colonies and submit to our rule. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. Captain Morrison listened to the message with practiced calm. He had heard similar threats many times before. The words were always different, but the arrogance was always the same. Open a channel, Jake told Amy. The communication system activated, and Jake looked directly into the camera. His expression was friendly and welcoming, like a hotel manager greeting new guests. Zephyrian Fleet, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Force. Welcome to human space. I see you've chosen not to request permission for entry. That's perfectly fine. We're always happy to accommodate visitors who prefer our alternative service options. Jake paused for a moment, still smiling. You now have 36 hours to leave human territory voluntarily. After that time expires, we'll be pleased to provide you with permanent housing facilities. Our current residents include former members of the Velkari Empire, the Mordian Hegemony, the Christek Federation, and 40 other species who made similar choices. General Krextar's laughter came through the speakers like grinding stone. Foolish humans. We command over 200 warships. Your primitive technology cannot stand against Zephyrian might. Surrender now or watch your worlds burn. Jake nodded politely. I understand your confidence, General. Many of our current research subjects expressed similar certainty. They've been quite helpful in advancing human defensive capabilities. In fact, some of their innovations will probably be used in your capture operation. The captain closed the communication channel and turned to Amy. Begin detailed scanning of their fleet. Send all data to Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Martinez. Make sure to note their formation patterns and weapon signatures. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Scans initiated, Captain. Estimated time for complete analysis, 18 hours. Jake opened his personal log and began recording. Day 1 of Zephyrian incursion into human space. Enemy fleet has ignored standard warnings and made territorial claims. Fleet displays advanced technology, but follows predictable aggressive species behavioral patterns. Recommend